1.5 quadratic equations. 1.5 quadratic equations. Solve the quadratic equation by completing the square. All right, so first thing is we want to put it in a certain form. So I'm going to leave a little space here. I'll leave it. So we want to, we referred to this in the previous one. Let me scroll up a little bit. So you determine the constant that should be added to the binomial so that it becomes a perfect square trinomial. So we're looking to put this in the form of a perfect square trinomial. So the way we find what we need to add here, because this is not the perfect square trinomial. Even if you put the 7 on the other side, it's not going to be a perfect square trinomial. So to do that, we're going to take the middle term 6 divided by 2 and square it. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Once you find the 9, you're going to add it. But whatever you do one side of the equation, you also have to do to the other. Otherwise you broke the equation, right? So what that gives you is x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 16. Okay, now that you've put it in this form right here, you can factor it. And basically what that means is you're going to take the square root of the first term, right? So the square root of that, so square root of x squared is x. Okay, and you're also going to take the square root of the 9. So square root of 9 is 3. You're going to put that over here, right? And because the middle term is addition, you're going to make this addition. Now I know this initially this is kind of a weird pattern, but once you memorize it, you can actually do this pretty quickly. Okay. Now once you do this within the parentheses, you're going to square that parenthesis and set it equal to 16. So once you're done with all that, you should have x plus 3. I'm just rewriting it separately, making it a little more obvious. You should have parenthesis x plus 3 squared is equal to 16. To get rid of those parentheses, you're going to take the square root of both sides. Technically, this is just the positive one, the symbol, but we're going to do positive and negative. Just trying to do it for illustrative purposes so we can keep track of what it is I'm doing. So we have plus or minus the square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4, so that's actually plus or minus 4. Then we solve for the x, minus 3, cancel, cancel. We end up with x is equal to negative 3 plus or minus 4. Now at this point, we need to separate it. So we do the negative 3 plus 4, and we do the negative 3 minus 4. So negative 3 plus 4 is 1, and negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Now you can go back and plug these in and check your work if you want to. But we put in set notation, 1 and negative 7. And again, negative 7 is less than 1. You can flip the order. It doesn't matter because we're using set notation. So let's try the next one. I may not have given myself enough room on these. I need to write smaller. Okay, so same kind of thing. We want to take, rewrite it, x squared plus 4x plus, I don't know, equals 21. So we say half of 4 squared. So half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So we add a 4 here, and we add a 4 there. So now at this point, this is in the proper form, so we can factor to x plus 2 squared equals 21 plus 4 is 25. Okay? So at this point, I'm going to take a square root of both sides, and that gives me x plus 2. Square root of 25 is 5, so it's plus or minus 5. Now we want to finish solving this, so I'm going to say minus 2, cancel, cancel. And we'll have x is equal to negative 2 plus 5, and we'll have x is equal to negative 2 minus 5. So negative 2 plus 5 is 3, and negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7. So give me a 3 and a negative 7. Next one, I have a negative 6. Write this middle term. I divide it by 2 and I square it. And that would give me a negative 3 squared, which would give me a 9. All right, so I add 9 to both sides. So I'm just going to do x squared minus 6x plus 9 and 5 plus 9, which gives me x. So now square root of x squared is x. Middle term is a negative, minus, And square root of 9 is a 3. And 5 plus 9 is 16. Next, we take the square root of both sides. And that gives me x minus 3 equals plus or minus 4. And we break it up into 2 different versions, right? So first I'll finish solving for the x. It gives me x is equal to 3 plus or minus 4. So now we do the x is equal to 3 plus 4, which gives me x is equal to 7. And we do x is equal to 3 minus 4, which gives me x is equal to negative 1. And there we go. 7 and negative 1. All right, let's try a couple more. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I kind of went over that quickly. All right, let's try the next one. Now, if you have a factor in the front, or a leading coefficient other than 1, you can try to factor it out first. So basically, let's say, what can I factor out of a 3, a 3, and a 6? I can factor a 3 out. And then 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared. 3x divided by 3 is just x. Negative 6 divided by 3 is a 2. Then we divide everything by 3. Notice that that coefficient disappeared. Not everything's going to work out as elegantly as that. This was a nice problem. We'll probably do one later on where you can't simplify it like that. We'll deal with that when we get to it. Now, at this point, 2, or this negative 2 right here, this will not complete the square. This is not going to make it the correct pattern. So what we need to do is we need to push it to the other side and come up with our own constant. Basically, that negative 2 is the wrong constant to finish what we want. So we're going to throw it over here instead. Okay, so now we need to figure out what goes there. Well, we have a 1. The leading coefficient of this is an understood 1. We divide it by 2, and we square it, which gives me 1/4. So I put a 1/4 there, and I say a 1/4 there. Okay, so at this point, square root of x squared is an x. Square root of 1/2 is, well, it's what we got right there, right, before. Square root of 1/4 is 1/2. And over here, we say 2 plus 1/4. I'll show you the steps for the fractions. By the way, your calculator, if you get a TI, even a regular scientific one like a TI 84 or a Pro, then they'll do the fractions for you. Most scientific calculators will do it for you. So 2 times 4 is 8, 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1/4. Now we have the same denominator. 8 plus 1 is 9, 9/4. Okay, so that's going to be 9/4. Now what we want to do is take a square root of both sides. Okay, so that would give me x plus 1/2. These just basically cancel out, right? That square there and the understood and implied index of 2. Square and square root undo each other, basically, right? Gives me that, and then the square root of 9/4. Now what happens is if I take a square root of 9/4, that's the same as the square root of 9. And we will go over more radicals later. I know I keep promising. We're not there yet, though. But that's the same as taking the square root of 9 over the square root of 4, which gives me 3/2. So what we basically get is plus or minus, should have put plus or minus here, plus or minus 3/2. Okay, so now we need to break it up into the positive and the negative versions, but first I'm going to subtract 1/2 from each side. I'm running out of room, sorry. So we end up with negative 1/2 plus 3/2. And the other version is going to be x is equal to negative 1/2 minus 3/2. Now in this case, the denominators are the same, so it makes the math way easier. So for instance, negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2, so you end up with 2/2, which is just 1. The other one is negative 1 minus 3, which gives me a negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So what we get here is a negative 2 and a positive 1.